mean, did you include the video of the seal? Because
No, but I'll retweet that just because it's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like that needs to be included somehow.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. I'm going to start recording in a couple seconds. You're going to hear some pretty music, and then we're going to bring it in like we're real professional. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome again to Creator Crush, where we interview people who make amazing things that we love. I'm Steven, she's Smash, and tonight we're joined by none other than Twitch's favorite dungeon master, Askren from Exploding Dice. Welcome to the show, Askren.
I promise I will not live up to that much hype.
No, but I mean, so you're
like 425th favorite, maybe.
Oh, come on! You know you're up there with.
I think I can do that.
You're up there with the ranks of your Matt Mercers and your others.
I was gonna say, you know what you're doing, and you use voices, so I feel like that elevates you a lot.
That's a pretty big leap. It's like, yeah, you're. That's like saying, like, yeah, no, you're okay at painting. You're up there with like your Picassos and your Rembrandts. Like, I don't think that's how this works.
I'm feeling pretty confident about it, though.
Hyperbole in there.
You have been on the front page of Twitch before, though, right? So there's some cred there.
Yes, but it's very weird. And no. It's weird because I was talking to people about this, and I know you said you wanted to talk about stories and stuff. I happened to be at Gen Con recently, and there was a huge streamer meetup for that I did not organize for D&D and RPG related streamers. And so one of the things that I got to do there, aside from drink beer that other people paid for, was I got to interact with people, that you meet on Twitter, you kind of see on other people's shows, but you never really get to talk to. And a lot of that was us just sitting and chatting about stuff. And it was basically people asking me questions like that and me saying it literally just the right place, the right time. Like none of it is as impressive as it would seem.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and assume you were just like, hey, Twitch, I'm doing a thing. Can you put me on the front page at some point?
No, so it's different now. But a while ago, back when role-playing games were really sort of exploding on Twitch, and they were really, really increasing in popularity, Twitch was experimenting with new content, and so we got a person. Her name was Brittany Brown. She still works at Twitch, as far as I know, and she was, I think, put in charge of essentially aggregating content for the front page. And one of the things that she championed organizing and getting organized for a couple months was a tabletop roleplay spotlight for the front page of Twitch. And so that was essentially, they were just putting some people, people that happen to be streaming in the category on the front page every month. And I don't know, I just got like I just kind of randomly got asked to do it because I was streaming and some other people I knew had done it. And then the couple other times that happened, I was on the front page when I did an interview with Richard Garriott. I don't remember how that happened. It just sort of coincided at the same time. And then the last time that we were on the front page, I believe, was for a charity when our team, the tabletop, the TGN, the Tabletop Game Network, which is our stream team, was doing a big event, a big charity event where all the channels were participating, and so we had petitioned for some front page space for that, and each channel got their own continuous slot, and so we were the last ones. Yeah.
So twice you have no idea how you landed it, and then once you actually petitioned for it.
Yeah, I think the one time that I didn't actually do the petitioning. I was involved in a planning meeting, but I wasn't the one who asked Twitch. I think I put in for some time, but again, they after that they realized they wanted to change how their front page was going. As far as I know, they decided, no, we don't want to do as much content. We want to do paid stuff like esports and advertisements and things like that. So the tabletop spotlight just kind of died out, and all of us were just did our thing, somewhere else. We continued on as a community, but it was just, like I said, it was just serendipity. It was just being in the right place at the right time. I don't know. I wish I had more than that.
And the 2 times when you made it on, you were like, we've made it. This is where I get my 2,000 followers. I quit my job and I'm a pro Twitch streamer. Is that the emotion you feel?
I don't think so. I think it was more just like, it was more being super nervous. I don't consider myself to be an entertainer, really. I've never really been a social person, and I've always been kind of a weird, a weird, shy, antisocial person. So it's like whenever you're going to be exposed to more people, it's like, okay, I hope I don't mess something up. Okay, so tangent to that. There have been a couple times in my channel's history that we've had guests and events that have brought in a ton of people, and I get really self-conscious about that because, as I assume anyone would, it's like it's just super scrutiny and you don't really know how to deal with it. I remember after I did the interview with Matt Mercer, people posted it on YouTube and my audio was shit. My microphone was dying at that point, and so it was really kind of, the gain was cranked up and it was really fuzzy, so I sounded like ass. And also I'm not really a great interviewer, and so a lot of people in the comments and stuff were just dragging it, and like they weren't really nice about it. And I'm like, I get it, it's fine. I understand what they're saying and I agree with it for the most part. But yeah, it's weird. You kind of get more, I think, more self-conscious than, oh, this is my moment. It's I don't know if have you guys ever done something that was just, like, it's just sort of a huge leap for you and you don't really know exactly if it's going to be all right. You just kind of feel super nervous about it.
This show.
Yeah, this show.
Okay.
I don't know that we've ever had that feeling.
Not necessarily on like Twitch.
Margaret Weiss. That was speaking to her, and like, because I think that was the second time.
That was the second interview we did.
Yeah,
that was the
so
first
I was
Creator
crapping
Crush.
my pants. Yeah.
That was terrifying.
I got to say hi to her. Actually, she was at Gen Con. Her booth was the one that they turned into the pop-up booth for Joe Manganiello's Death Saves clothesline, and so we were. I was there with Satine and Rudy and a bunch of other people. We were just kind of hanging out, and talking to her and talking to everyone else at the booth. She was really nice. I wish I was a better fan, because I unfortunately am not a novel. Like I read books, but I've never read any of the D&D books, like the Dragonlance. It's just not something I grew up with. So I knew nothing about what she was involved in. I was just like, hi, I like games, I guess. That's me.
No, that's
I
pretty
do
good.
stuff because of what you did 80 years ago.
It's so weird to be in front of a creator and then be like, I wish I knew more. I wish I was more familiar with your work.
Yeah.
But
you feel guilty almost. You feel
a
like
little bit. I think so. Yeah. Because it's like you don't really know what to, like. I loved that thing that you did, and
yeah,
I don't know.
I have looked at the cover of your book multiple times. It's great. You're like, I don't know what's in there, but I know that it looks cool. Well done.
Yeah.
I do want to backpedal. Oh no, you go, Ashley, if you would.
No, we were talking about D&D, so I was wondering, kind of. I know Askren. For those of you who don't know, I think we met on Twitter somehow.
Yeah, Ashley played in a game with me for a while.
You can feel sorry for him if anybody.
I do. I feel very bad for you. I'm currently wrangling her now, and it's painful.
I wasn't the worst though. We had Adam on our team.
It was a mix of personalities. It was an interesting mix.
Such a nice way to put it.
So how does that work for you? Like, how do you go? I am going to attempt to wrangle all these weird mixed personalities. Like, how did you get into tabletop RPG, and how did you get into D&D?
Well, those are two very different things. I got into Dungeons and Dragons a long time ago. So I was growing up, I think when I was really, really young, when I was probably 8 or 9 years old, my dad gave me a copy of Ultima, the computer game. I think it was Ultima 3, but it might have been 4. I don't remember exactly, but if you're not familiar with it, Ultima was or Ultima Akalabeth was considered to be the first role-playing game that was on the PC. It was on like the old Apple something. I don't even remember. Long time ago. And that was created by Richard Garriott. And so I was given a copy of those games, and I just kind of fell in love. I was a comic book kid, but the fantasy just sort of grabbed me. And then after that, I played. I got when I was in school. I got introduced to tabletop Warhammer, which is it's a tactical war game with these cool sci-fi plastic miniatures that I was super in love with because the art was really detailed and grimdark, and it just kind of tickled that nerve that every little kid has for really cool intense stuff. And I didn't really play Dungeons and Dragons until I was 13 years old. I was working as a I just didn't know anyone who played. No one really ever offered. I played Magic cards and stuff, but when I was about 13 years old, I was working as a counselor in training at a scout camp near me that I spent a lot of my youth at. And we were in our bunk one day, and one of the kids that was there with me, he pulled out some books and he says, "Hey, you want to play some games?" And we played D20 Modern,
Nice.
Which is a horrible game.
As I'm sitting here like, yeah, that was awesome. You're just like, it's horrible.
No, it's like, I think it's funny.
It is.
It's just such a weird and wonky game. Like, I guess it makes sense as a real basic game. Again, we were like 13-year-old idiots, me and my brother, and so we were. I remember we were going around this facility killing these guardsmen and taking their bling and G-Unit sneakers. Like, we were like 13-year-old idiots. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. And then because my friend, he had a mixture of like 3.5 and AD&D books, so like he didn't even have a real set of books. But yeah, and then I wasn't involved in it for a very long time. And then 4th edition rolled around. And at that time, I was doing a lot of stuff on the internet, playing World of Warcraft and stuff. And we were all sort of looking for a way to play Dungeons and Dragons with each other, but we can't be in the same place. Right. And there was no real way of doing that until Roll20 happened, which was shortly after 4th edition. And that's it. Once Roll20 happened, like, I was able to kind of get back into gaming. That's how I got into playing. That's how I got into dungeon mastering. Streaming sort of started by accident. I'd been DMing and stuff on Roll20 for maybe like 2 years. I was working as an expo and a chef at the time. And I would just come home real late and play D&D, and that was like my week. And then a while ago, probably 3 and change years at this point, one of the random groups that I put together, said, "Hey, Chris, this guy that's in this group has a Twitch channel. Do you want to try streaming it?" And I had kind of heard a lot of D&D podcasts, like Acquisitions Incorporated and stuff, but I never really listened to any of them hardcore. But I'm like, yeah, why not? Let's try and do. I dabbled in recording a session or two here or there. Didn't really work out. I didn't like the sound of my own voice, all that kind of self-conscious stuff. But I was just like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. And so we streamed one session. Nothing happened. No one's gonna watch. Obviously, no one watches your first stream. That's how it goes. But I said after that, because it was just on his channel where he played a lot of like indie games, like Gungeon and stuff. And I was like, if we're gonna do this, the goal is to have people watch it. That means it has to be on its own channel. You have to put some effort into it. It has to have graphics. It's got to look like you give a shit. And so I took that. I was running the game, so I took it on myself to make all that happen. And then we needed to come up with a name, and no one really cared what it was called. And I was like, what about Exploding Dice? That sounds pretty cool. And they were like, I don't care. And that's just it. That's how it happened. And so I tell people I kind of just started streaming on accident. Like, it really wasn't an intentional thing. It just sort of happened. And then just after that is like, let's do more stuff. Why not?
That is super cool. And like, one of the things that fascinates me is you said you're shy. And then I find you in front of a camera playing with 5 other people, or 4, 5, 6 other people, doing voices, dungeon master thing. And like, do you find that D&D helps you overcome some of that, or is it related at all, or do you just have a way of putting it in the back of your head and just go, I'm just going to play this game and not worry about it?
I think it's a little bit of both. So when it comes to specifically like getting on camera and doing wacky voices, I remember back when I had literally, this was before, if you may, people, I mean, Ashley may have heard about it a lot when I was running the game. I talked a lot about this show called Fuzzy Dice, which was a talk show that I used to do. And it originally, like, it moved on to interviewing people, kind of like, basically exactly like this, but people directly related with nerd stuff that I was into. But it started out, I didn't really have anyone to talk to except my players. And so one of the very first talks I ever did was just with one of my players who was really nervous and not really sure about doing a character voice. But he really got into it because I was doing all of the NPCs, and he said, like, it just kind of makes it a little less awkward. Like, you can kind of push that to the back of your head. To me, as long as the people are always fun, and I've never really met a group of people I didn't get along with playing, especially on Twitch. And so, yeah, it's not really, like, I don't really think of it as performance. I think of it as just playing a game like you would with anyone else. Like, if you've ever, you sit down and goof around with your friends, you might, or you play a video game with your friends, whatever you do, I think of it exactly the same way. And it just, the fact that there's an audience, honestly, to me, doesn't really enter into it. Like, I don't think of it as being a performer, even though I suppose that's the case. I would say that I'm not really an entertainer, mostly because outside of actually running the game, because running the game is such a collaborative thing. There's other people there that feed into it, and that you don't have to be the one keeping that audience engaged, like if you were a solo streamer or something. I don't do well. If you've ever watched my streams when I'm just alone, I don't do particularly well. I kind of I try my best, but I'm not, like, there's so many people on Twitch that are just outgoing personalities, and they're just huge and bombastic, and I'm like, man, I wish I could do that, but that ain't me.
They're just stream of consciousness exploding all over the camera, and you're like, wow.
Sort of. I mean, my friend, so there's a friend of mine, his name is Goobers, and he's a streamer, and I love his content, mostly because he yells a lot, and it's not like it's. I know that sounds weird, but
it doesn't.
It's just, he has such a bombastic personality, and it's just so entertaining, and like, to be in your house just kind of belting at the top of your lungs, and it's not obnoxious. It's just funny and interesting, and
he
it's
doesn't
like
have children.
I sit there watching, and I'm like, man, I wish I had even like the slightest bit of confidence. Like, I can get up, like, I'm going to be, immediately after the show, I'm going to be going to play a D&D game called The Daubers, and where I play Fern, he's a rat folk rogue, and he talks like this very senile man. Would you like a mushroom? I can do that, and that to me is not the same as just sort of like being up on stage, in front of people and telling jokes and interacting. And no, it doesn't register the same way to me. Like, I could do that, but I couldn't sing on camera. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
I feel like it's harder to be like to do the voices and to be comfortable with it than it is, because I'm a loud person. I yell and get excited over everything, so I find that super easy. But doing the voices is so, like, I wouldn't do it if you remember. Like, I couldn't keep a voice going. I'm like, I'm so self-conscious.
It's weird. It feels weird at first, but I think you get used to kind of just overcoming that and doing it anyway. Like, a lot of people when they're starting out, especially trying to act as a character or something, they'll say that it feels weird sort of putting on this voice and this personality and this mannerism in front of your friends, because it's like, you feel a little bit concerned about that. Subject to Change mentioned Russian. The character, the guy that I was talking to, that I originally, he was encouraged to kind of do more of his character voice, because I was consistently putting on that performance for him. His character was a Russian woman, sort of fantasy Russian, and I love doing fantasy Russian accents because they're very easy. You can do them very low. You do a Russian down here, but you can also do a Russian woman. If you temper your voice out and just make it very, very soft and very slow. And I don't know, it's weird. That isn't very out there for me. Maybe I'm just used to it. Maybe I've just done it for so long. I don't know.
That was really good. Yeah, that's.
I'm also
really
not. Bear in
good
mind, I'm also not voice actor quality. Like, I'm just. There are people that are so much better than me. I have like 3 things that I can do. All of my guards in every game I DM sound exactly the same, and I don't know why. It's like they all just go to that no wait, it's the old guards just kind of go to that gravelly kind of British accent.
Jason
You
Statham.
sound like or
just
the Witcher.
very vaguely, gravelly British accents, and they're a city guard.
That's
Or no, go ahead.
No,
I was just saying, my
yeah.
villains sound the same too.
I was wondering how, like, you were talking about it. That was such a good voice. I was like, I wonder where he keeps his bank of characters in his brain, because I did a similar thing anytime I'm DMing. Mine always end up being country bumpkins. Every single voice ends up sounding like, well, I did go down to the stream yesterday and get some water.
So it kind of it's weird, especially I think a lot of DMs have these places that they just sort of normally go, like, if you need a townsperson or something. And if you like, I find that for me, I have to kind of yank myself in a different direction intentionally.
Yoink.
But to try something out. But when it comes to specific characters, like very very specific ones, I feel like I know. I haven't done them in a while, but Fern, who is the character that I'll be playing, this that sort of senile rat folk, his character comes from a wizard that I used to do named Broderick Quink, and Ian McKellen, he did this talk about, when someone was talking about his Gandalf character, and he said that, like, if there's like a mannerism or something you can link to that you can just do, it tends to put you like right back into the character. And people do this all the time anyway. When you're thinking of doing like an impression of a famous person, you pick something of theirs that is like a mannerism or something, like or Sean Connery. I can't do a Sean Connery.
Do you ever lose your car keys?
Yes, you just kind of, you do something like, a little bit of a voice, and now you're all Gandalf. Like, you pick something that you can anchor to, and then that just kind of, as long as you repeat, once you can get there, it kind of just brings you right back. Everything else is just an experimentation. You just, what do I want this guy to sound like? What do I want to do with this character? How do I want to make this character memorable? And also, I don't know about you, I suffer from a problem as a dungeon master of my NPCs tend to be cardboard cutouts. I have trouble making them feel like memorable people that the players will remember and then kind of want to go back to. So that's something I struggle with a little bit.
No,
I disagree with that.
That one, that is true. It's really hard to take an NPC that you don't know how wrapped up in the story they're going to be quite yet. And you're like, how memorable do I want to make it?
It's worse when you like have high hopes and you have this this character real well, and they're like, I don't care about him.
Yeah, you're so impassioned over it, and they're like, well, I'm gonna go left even though you want me to go right.
It's just just no, go back. Remember, he's there. No, okay,
So
fine.
It's like, it's okay. I didn't work that long on them anyway.
I'm not mad.
When it comes to like your storytelling, this is something that I always think about with the DM, and like, how many do you do? A lot of boxed adventures, or do you like to make up your own? I'll start there.
Yeah, so I am kind of a little bit different than a lot of DMs I know, in the sense that I love adventure modules.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but some of my favorite content to run is, I don't know if you're familiar with Pathfinder versus Dungeons and Dragons, but Pathfinder Paizo is really, really well known for their modules are great. They publish lots of them, and their adventure paths, they're kind of 1 to 20 campaigns that they publish, which I guess Wizards does a lot less of them, but they tend to be really good, and their settings are interesting and engaging. And so I tend to latch onto the ideas of a lot of those pre-written adventures, mostly because I don't consider myself to be a great storyteller. I consider myself to be a much better editor than I do a storyteller, in the sense that, like, I can read through and something that someone has written and be like, there are some things here that, there's some areas here that don't quite work, or will need some more time, or a little bit, more embellishment, or this kind of fight doesn't make sense, or this quest, it needs some more explaining. Like, I find myself being much better at that than writing things from scratch. Even the last homebrew adventure that I ran wasn't really homebrew. The last thing that I can be considered writing from scratch was Writhing Moon, which was this horror adventure that I ran for 50 episodes on Saturdays, and it was fantastic. It was great, but it was also very much inspired by and stealing a lot of things from games that I was inspired by at the time: Bloodborne, Path of Exile, Dark Souls, and a couple of others. So I can't say that it was really homebrew, but yeah, I like working. I like having a reference book. I like having something I can, read through and take notes on. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah.
Lots of every DM has their own. Like, what do you find yourself reading a lot, or do you just kind of wing it?
I try box adventures, but I can't. So you've got a talent in that you can read that material and then embellish on it. You can like kind of grab things you like and shift and change. I look at it as like this freaking thing is concrete, and I have to follow it to the T, or we're all gonna die.
Trust me, I used to be like that, and it's super. It takes I think it takes a little bit of getting used to, right? If your goal is to like, you find an adventure that you really like, but you're gonna end up taking liberties. It's fine, right? Like,
yeah.
To me, the adventures are cool guidelines. And they give you a cool story, but you can like how you navigate that and how you go between it, and whether or not you care, like whether maybe if you come up with a better idea, there's like, it's all you, man. And it takes getting comfortable, because like I used to run those adventures slavishly, like to the letter. And then I just kind of stopped because I got more comfortable with my ability to improvise and to make stuff up. I think, and now I'd say I'm fairly comfortable to the point where I tend to prep very little. I usually will just kind of prepare myself a set of notes about what I kind of generally want to happen during the session, and then I will kind of allow myself to pivot and work off of what the players give, but also to try and to intentionally hand them room to create moments and stuff that that I could then embellish on.
Yeah, that sounds kind of like DMs that I've worked with. That's been the thing. One of the most important things I think a DM taught me early on was your players write the story. You're just helping fill in the gaps, and kind of give them somewhere to go. So it's like, here's a breadcrumb, hope you follow it. If you don't, I'll have to just swing it some other way, come up with some other thing. Because you don't want to tell your players no. Like, as a DM, you want to say, yes, you can do that, given within the rules. And there's some kind of silent social contract when you're playing a module, and like, you guys help me get through the module. Try not to just run off in the other direction.
So that's, I think that's an interesting thing, and I've kind of discussed that in DM shows in the past. And there are, I haven't experienced them in probably, I think it's considerably less prevalent these days, but there used to be players used to have this weird sort of I don't want to say rivalry, but almost players used to see Dungeons and Dragons as them being against the DM, and it's like it was almost like their job to, when the DM presents a quest hook, they intentionally avoid it and do something else. I don't think that's necessarily the case these days, but also I think the important thing, and one of the great skills to learn as a dungeon master is, so here's what I think is great. I have what I think is a success is, in the past I have run adventures where the players have come to me after the fact, and they have, they did not know that any of what they were doing was a published adventure, because they felt like they were the ones making the choices that moved the narrative forward. And so to me, I think the goal when you're running those adventures is to find a way to present the narrative thread so that the players will make the choice to follow it, rather than sitting down and saying, hey guys, this is an adventure, so when I give a quest hook, you gotta follow it, otherwise you're going off the rails of the adventure. It's, you don't need to say that. And in fact, I think it's better if the DMs sort of force themselves to be like, okay, what do my players want, and how do I give it to them in the form of this adventure that I have written, or I am running. and so that's a skill. It's not, obviously it doesn't come instantly, you know, it takes a little bit of work, and I think what's most important as a dungeon master is you have to have the ability to ask yourself, what can I do better?
Yeah.
Right? Because I think that's a good,
That's like a life skill
for everything. Yeah, it works
Yeah.
for everything. But I think a lot of people, that's a thing they don't do, is they don't stop and say, okay, what is not succeeding here, and what do I need to work on?
Yeah. No, that sounds.
Steven let me burn the entire Senate building down at one point because something wasn't working. So.
Yeah, well, so I mean, I don't want to derail it too much, but the module we were just doing was super technical in its way of political intrigue, like how you influence a room. It was a Crownfall Pathfinder module. It's the first one they've done with Roll20 that like
yeah. I'm not familiar with it. I haven't read it yet, but I am aware of it.
It's pretty intense for noobs. Like, we're all basically noobs. I haven't played D&D. Like, last D&D I played was 3.5, but it was years ago. So it's a lot in common with Pathfinder, but at some point I'm like, my players aren't having fun. My players are bored. I'm struggling, you know, so we just, man, I made up a story that the whole Senate burned down and they went and did something else. And ever since then, everybody's been having a blast because we're off the rails. We're just going nuts.
Less work.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
funny.
On everybody's part.
It's and when you're doing a stream, it's like at some point you can spend 6 hours when you're just playing on a Saturday with friends making junk up. But when you're doing it on a stream, it's like, I not only have to be fun for the people playing, it should be fun for everyone watching. And
so that's actually interesting, because one of the first things I tried to, when I started streaming, I was not very good at DMing for a stream, because what I wasn't used to was having sort of a set time limit and having to keep people's attention for that time limit. Before I started streaming, my sessions ran anywhere from 4 to 7 hours.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Average 4, but I had some dungeon delves that went on, and you know, there was just no good place to stop, and so they just kept going. And combat in Pathfinder takes a very long time. It's a whole thing. But when I started streaming, and I was sort of some of the stuff that I originally did, you know, we originally started at 4-hour streams, and then we cut it down to 3 after I was working with another channel. And what it forced me to do was it forced me to sort of learn. So, and here's the thing, what I learned to ask myself: how does a TV show grab your attention and keep you engaged while also telling a story that has all these different beats and changes and elements to it in a 30-minute time span, right? And how do I or a movie in an hour, right? A D&D session lasts more than an hour, but generally less will happen in it than will happen in an average episode of TV.
Yeah.
But all of the lessons that like, if you watch any TV show, any sort of general formulaic show, they all follow the exact same script. It's, you have your intro, your pickup from last time, which is usually a cliffhanger. You have your setup, your engagement, your rising action, your climax or your obstacle, and then your falling action, and then you have a switch at the last moment that leaves a cliffhanger for the next session or the next episode. You can find there, like, you can literally Google the basic elements of a TV script, right? Every single movie and script is going to follow, unless it's something trying to be outside the box, it's going to follow these basic beats, and all of those storytelling beats work exactly well in a D&D session, right? You just, as long as you learn to meet out your time, you can give your players that sort of rising action, that intrigue. You can know when to flip, when the climax is supposed to hit you. And as long as you're keeping your eye on your clock, okay, I have 30 minutes left. I got to build up to a cliffhanger, right? And, and in your head, you're like, okay, what can I pull out? What can I throw away? What can I change to hit that really cool note at the end of the session while working with my players? And it's an exercise, but it's what I encourage everyone to do, because we are storytellers, right? We're telling stories, and those are what have been proven to be the great elements of telling stories.
Yeah, they work. You can call them tropes all you want, but they're tropes because they are a thing that works.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty interesting way to look at it as a long form TV show.
That's how I started looking at my sessions. As long as you know that every session has to have a cliffhanger, and you know exactly when on the clock that moment is going to be, at your 3-hour mark, then it's just a matter of in your head keeping up with what's going on and the pace and where you are in that story roller coaster, that you can hopefully pull something, either something you have planned or something out of your ass and make something cool happen.
Yeah.
Dude, cliffhangers come here. Here's what I say. At the end of the session, it doesn't matter how far out of left field you have to go. Just flip the whole thing on its head and deal with the consequences later, right? You don't have to know what's going to happen now. You can write that part of the story next week. But, a lot of DMs, I think, are sometimes afraid of, or they just don't have the confidence themselves to do that kind of,
I always thought it was completely coincidental that you ended on cliff. I never.
No, it's not. It's always intentional. That's the point. The point is to make people want
do this.
The point is to make people want to come back for more. If they know what's, if they know what's going on, then they're gonna get bored. But you gotta keep them guessing.
That's awesome. I love that she just realized that too.
Just like you're sitting there talking about it, I'm like, oh my God, he ended everyone on a cliffhanger. I just thought we were so good at making sporadic decisions that we, messed everything up.
Possibly.
But no,
Possibly.
we were led like little puppets.
No, that's a really cool way of looking at it.
Yeah, that's really, especially for streaming, right? That's yay.
So one of the things we both were curious about, you've taken a good deal of time off here recently from DMing and just from streaming in general. Like you were cranking out. I remember we had you on Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, and it was like, Askren, do you sleep?
Yeah, we were worried about your face exploding
because you were killing it, and you've taken some time off. Is this like, how do you get over the burnout? Because I know you're kind of coming back in to do the Daubers tonight, and that's exciting and super awesome. But like, what do you do to try and maintain your own mental health while you're trying to grow a stream?
And while you've got a day job.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know if I don't know if I have a great answer to that, only because I think everyone has their own stuff they deal with, and for me, the problem is, and I haven't really talked too much about what kind of led to us, to the channel sort of taking a hiatus. I don't really, tonight we're just we're hanging out, and hopefully I'm not like kickstarting a whole new weekly schedule or anything like that.
Right.
But for me, it was actually one of those things where I sort of have a lot of personal depression issues and things like that, and if I am not distracted, I am in my own head. If I'm not, if my attention is not focused on something, and that's why I think video games and things are always there, and they kind of mitigate that a little bit, because that takes all your focus. You don't have any time to be but work also does that. If you are just sort of working all the time, you don't really have time to stop and think and get in your own head and second guess yourself. And so for me, it was one of those things where I felt like if I was going to do it, and by do it, I mean the stream, the channel, all that stuff, it had to be 100%, it had to be, I had to be working at it like I wanted something out of it. And that, and I saw other people doing, a full week of content, and I'm like, I don't know if I have any right to do any less. Like, I want to do more. I want to work with more people. I want to tell more stories. And, I want to build, to build something. The problem is, I always knew, and it was kind of like balancing plates, because I always knew that if somehow, for some reason, that momentum kind of fell or ended, if I lost the momentum, it would be extremely hard to pick up again. It's one of those things where when you're in the middle of it, like it would be so easy to just walk away. It'd be so easy to just put everything down and step away from it. And I don't know if I would even feel that bad. But at the time there was so many other people that were involved in the channel, and I couldn't really stop because of them. And honestly, to be 100% honest, getting together with the group of the Daubers to play tonight, we ended our first season last month, I think, and the only reason that show is happening, the only reason that there is streaming content that is hopefully going to be going on weekly, is because I wasn't involved in it, right? Like the dungeon master Daryl, he just got the group together and said like, hey, are we starting season 2? Let's go. But if I was the one in charge, which I was for everything else, like Exploding Dice was never other people, it was literally always just me. So whenever you saw a whole big charity event or all of these shows being put together, a new project, like that was all just me behind the scenes.
Holy crap.
And so it was one of those things where at a couple months ago, all of the plates just sort of dropped at the same time, and it's like, okay, I guess I'm on a break. That's just how it is. And so I've been taking some time away to figure out whether or not I can continue to do what I was doing alone, because I'm getting to the point where I don't know if I can.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, and it's hard to get other people involved in that. It's hard for if you've started a podcast, if you've ever started, I don't know if you've ever done this, but try and ask someone else to do a podcast with you, someone who has no interest in what you like. It's never gonna work, because they're never gonna care about your thing as much as you care about it, right?
Yeah, man, my life. Let's go. Let's you and me commiserate right now.
and so for me, streaming was a lot like that. I'm super glad that Daryl has kind of forced me to not sort of just be drift away and lose touch with the community for good. I still kind of do secret drawing streams here and there, but I don't know. Well, hopefully there will be more stuff, and hopefully kind of things will get back on track. And I don't know if I plan on hitting things as hardcore as we were. I'd probably, if anything, probably just find a smooth pace and just kind of let it coast for a little while.
Yeah. Man, thank you for sharing that. That's
no worries.
Not necessarily easy to talk about.
Bearing your soul for us on the show. No, that's awesome. I definitely feel you in the hard to find people that care. That was a complaint I had for years until I had Ashley do a show with me, because it was like friends you think are really into the thing you're into, and the minute you sit down to go, let's do this thing, they're like, yeah, we should, and they just don't. It's hard. So I'm glad you found somebody who's willing to take up that task with you and try to do something awesome.
They either need to be related or you need to be sleeping with them, is what I found out.
Yeah. So... even then, my nephew tried to do a podcast for a while, and they just realized they were not into the same things. And they both ended up doing their own thing. But the thing about it, like the Daubers is the Daubers is Daryl's baby. It's a comic that he started out as a comic artist a long time ago, and he wrote this comic about these like hobbit like creatures. And what, my monitor just fell asleep. And then he just sort of he turned it into a board game, which was successfully funded on Kickstarter.
Nice.
And
we
awesome.
were dude.
It's super cool. And we were playing the D&D game that was in the world of that he had created for this board game and stuff. And so there's a lot of cross promotion and stuff like that. So that's really his thing. It's running on the channel, but yeah, he is the one that could take all the credit for that. So yeah, again, it's one of those things where sometimes I think you need someone else to kind of like, actually this is, and I know, speaking of, we're getting very, 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 very close.
Yeah, we are.
But someone, I retweeted something from I guess that since we're on the subject, I retweeted something from his name is played Kingdom Death with him at Gen Con, and now I don't remember.
The one guy with the face.
Sean K. Reynolds. Sean K. Reynolds is one of my favorite Pathfinder adventure writers. But I retweeted something from him where he was talking about interacting with and helping people who are dealing with depression and personal issues. And it's so easy for everyone to kind of fall into that trap of saying like, oh, I'm here if you need anything, or just say,
yeah.
But what really helps is coming to people saying, hey, can I do this for you? Right.
Yeah.
if you feel like someone is if you feel like someone is struggling or is in a bad place, like don't leave it in their court. Like if you want to help them, you kind of just have to go and be there and help them stand up, because that's such a powerful thing that sometimes people can't act like they can't even bring themselves to ask for that kind of help. And so again, you know, Daryl is kind of forcing me there, and I don't begrudge him for it, right? Like it's I think it's probably something that was necessary.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to call up and say, "Hey, I'm bringing some pizza over. Let's watch a movie." You know,
I have French fries, and you're gonna eat them.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, we don't have to get super deep into this because we're running out of showtime. But yeah, like you it's not just that person is sad for a while. It's like a debilitating deal, you know. And you want to, it's good to go in and be like, hey, let's do this. I'm gonna do this for you, or you know. You can say that with any time somebody's suffering or going through, like somebody who's had surgery. It's like, I'm making you food and you are going to eat it. Yeah. You know, 'cause there's no, you're not going to ask me for food, but I'm going to bring you some.
Right.
So you don't have to think about it. So that's awesome. I'm really glad you shared. I know we're running really, really tight. I know you've got to take off, but McFly did ask about your drawing streams.
Oh yeah.
And how you got started in that. Have you always drawn, or is it just something, you know, you picked up?
I wanted to be a comic book artist when I was a kid. I grew up reading comics, and I grew up collecting them. I went to School of Visual Arts in Manhattan for illustration and graphic design with a focus in comics, because they have the only, like, I don't know now, but they at the time they had the only kind of illustration degree that focused on the comic book industry.
That's amazing.
And then I proceeded to do nothing with that after school. As most people do with their degrees. I was a chef after that. And so, yeah, I just, to me, I'm not great at drawing, and I'm not very fast, and I don't finish a lot of things, but I don't draw as much as I should, but I try and for me, those are interesting content. Like I'm not really a game. I don't do gamings on stream very much. I try sometimes, but it's not really, I'm not very good at it. But illustration, I can just sit down and talk with people and just kind of listen to music and zone out for a while. And so I think those are a lot of fun. So if you like drawing, I sometimes will try and explain what I'm doing, anatomy and construction and stuff like that. And so if you are into art, you know, come say hi. I'd love to.
It's like ASMR art too.
Maybe
like everything.
I put on metal music and rap, so maybe not so much. But, for me, I tend to just zen out and get lost in the details and stuff like that. So
that's awesome. Well, yeah. So your Twitch channel, twitch.tv/exploding dice. That's where we can find all your work, right?
Yes. Hold on. Let me just say hello in chat. Hi. You can find anything and everything that has my face on it right there.
Sweet. Okay. Cool. Is there anything, before we let you go, is there anything else that you want to promote, or anything you have upcoming, or
I feel like there needs to be a comic upcoming.
Yeah, I know. Where's the Askren comic?
Oh, I wish I had that. I right now I have a couple big group portraits of different D&D groups on my plate that I'll probably never finish. No, I immediately after this, the group is actually yelling at me right now. Judo and Splatterdinker in chat. We're gonna be playing. We are gonna be kicking off season 2 of the Daubers, or Homebrew Dungeons and Dragons adventure, where I play Fern the Rat. It's a fantastic crew of people. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun last season, and I'm looking forward to it. You can come hang out for more art streams. They've all been secret streams recently. You can follow me on Twitter. Also Sundays I have been crashing and as a guest on Pro Restarter's stream. He does a horror game, Shadows of the Demon Lord, and I am playing a creepy old man plague doctor in that. And so you guys, if you like horror and other RPGs, you can come say hi and check that out. And other than that, I don't really have much going on, but I'd love to chat with you if you guys want to come say hi on Twitter or something like that. It's literally just @Askren. That's my name.
ASKREN. Yep.
Right under me.
For those audio listeners that are like, now is it ACR? You know, ASKREN.
But yeah, come say hi. I'd love to say hi to you. And thank you guys for having me. It's been a while. It's been too long since we got a chance to hang out. And super congrats on getting this podcast up and running and interviewing so many cool people. You guys are guys are killing it.
Thank you,
Yay,
thank you. We're
yeah,
having a
thank
blast.
you so
but
much
yeah,
for sharing.
yeah, thank you for coming on. This has been a great time. And yeah, anybody who's out there interested in watching all the art streams and D&D live stuff, go to Exploding Dice on Twitch and sub or follow whatever you can do. That would be fantastic. And hey, maybe we all should just raid that channel after this. Does that sound good?
Hey, you can totally do that.
Because we should. Yeah. Well,
I'll
we'll let
have
you
to
go.
Put some music on.
You're
It's
right
fine.
on. We'll let you go, man, so you can get to your
Askren, thank you
your
so
thing.
much.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
thank you guys for having me. It was an
You
absolute
are the
pleasure.
best. Later.
Talk soon.
Boy.
Bye, guys.
I have no idea how to kick you out of here.
I'll
That's
take care of it.
All right. You the best.
Take care.
Bye.
He's like, I'm a pro. I can leave.
Now your face is really big.
Now
in
my
this square.
face is huge.
I know, and I don't have you over here. We're just gonna. It's all fine. But no, that was great. I wonder if I could. Shut up. It's fine. Everything's fine. This is only gonna be on the YouTube anyway. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Creator Crush. You're the best. And then we can do the outro now that we've cut everything out. Hold on a second. Let me make sure.
I'll
It's
take
everything.
care of it.
Let me get rid of all that junk at the end where I'm like, hey, I don't know how to hang up the camera.
He really just goes, man.
That was fun. That was
Askren
fun.
goes. Like he does so much stuff.
I know.
He needs a secretary. And
I
like
know.
not in a pejorative way. He just needs someone to help.
He needs an actual helper. Hey,
Yes.
thanks to Throck Plays for joining us tonight and the Legion of Dorks. Thanks for the follow.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the LOD.
Welcome to the LOD. And follows are good, man. That's a good way to support everything we're doing here. Okay. Let me.
Is that supposed to be like V Rock plays or Throck?
Might be Throck. I say Throck.
From now on, your name is Throck.
We have the microphone, therefore it's us. And Splattered Ink, thank you for the follow.
Yay, Splatter!
You
Thank
are
you,
the best.
guys.
We appreciate all the follows and all the love. You guys are amazing. Let's do the outro for this thing. I think, believe it or not, I might actually know what I'm doing this time. Smash. I wrote it all
boy.
down. Here we go. I'm loving it. I always do that. And it makes me
No,
think of McDonald's.
no.
Okay,
McDonald's is no.
Shut up. Here we go. That was the incredibly talented Askren from Exploding Dice. We hope you all enjoyed listening to his stories and maybe even got inspired to start your own tabletop RPG game with your friends. If you want to help out the show, the #1 best way to do it is with your mouth. Yes, you can tell all your friends and family about the show. Better yet, rate us on your favorite podcasting app. That will help us out the most. And you can also toss us a couple bucks at twodorks.net/tip. We love your dollars, but even better, we'd love you to tell your friends about Creator Crush at creatorcrush.com. Next week, we will be joined by Rachel Boreen of Ink Truffle to talk about the fine art of pottery and why we want to buy all of her stuff because it's amazing. Seriously, you guys, Google Ink Truffle because it's on Etsy and everything looks so rad, and I'm very excited to talk to her. It's going to be a lot of fun. So until then, this is me and Smash signing off. See you next time.
Bye.
We did it.
Yay!
That was good, right?
Yay!
Yes.
I'm actually he was hosting us, but I'm wondering if they like he's doing the daubers on his channel, right? On
As far as I
Exploding
know,
Dice.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, he's doing the daubers on his channel. Let's make sure this sounds good, and then I'm going to mix it down. Boy. That was the incredibly talented... Yeah, that's good. That was a good show. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming in, hanging out, and supporting Askren.
Yeah, and hey, man, go over and watch his stuff. Go over there now and throw some LOD love in there if you're a subscriber.
I think a lot of people in the chat were actually Askren's peoples.
That's awesome.
So they're like,
yeah, we're going. We'll be there.
bitches."
But until then, man, hey, next tomorrow's Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. So if you want to come enjoy some more shenanigans tomorrow night at 9, we'll be doing Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, our variety show where we talk about odd news, weird stuff, and occasionally rant about women's rights and stuff. I don't even know. It's such a weird.
It's okay. We won't be tired.
It's
It'll
such
be
a
fine.
weird show. You guys are amazing. We'll see you next.